Hi everyone, welcome to an episode via Facebook Live of the Best Real Estate Investing Advice Ever show. And we will be doing this like we normally do. We got some listener questions. We got itemized costs for the 10 due diligence items, which is a follow-up from a previous episode, I think 2 Fridays ago, right?
2 Fridays ago, yeah.
Yeah. And I also have my mouth half numb, as I did, I think, 2 Fridays ago.
Other half this time.
My other half. And this should be the last time that happens. This is the dentist stuff. So bear with me as I speak with a lisp today. Ready to go?
Let's do it, Joe.
All right. Best ever listeners, how you doing? Welcome to the Best Real Estate Investing Advice Ever show. I'm Joe Fairless. This is the world's longest running daily real estate investing podcast. We only talk about the best advice ever. We don't get into any fluff. We are doing Follow Along Friday today. I am joined as usual by Theo I'm joined by Theo. Yeah, I think so, right? And also Jack, our mascot for the show, old 12-pound Yorkie. And today we are doing Facebook Live, so if you are listening to it on the podcast, then great. If you are watching via YouTube, then welcome and hope you enjoyed the show. If you're watching via Facebook Live, then you can comment below right now, and we have a team member, Grant, who's responding to you, and if you have any questions, we'll either get to them we'll probably get to them on tomorrow or on next Friday's episode, not today. We got a lot of stuff to go over today. Today we're going to go over the itemized costs for each of the 10 due diligence documents that we mentioned 2 Fridays ago, and that was episode
1116.
Man, that's a lot of episodes.
That's a lot of episodes.
Episode 1116. We went through the 10 due diligence documents for apartment buildings, and then we had some follow-up questions on how much does that cost approximately, and Theo's going to walk us through that. Additionally, we're going to answer some other questions that you have, and then we got some miscellaneous things. And lastly, yes, I have a lisp today because my other half of my mouth is numb from the dentist, and I think this will be the last time this happens, so bear with me, and Theo's going to do a lot of talking today. Ready to go?
Let's do it, Joe.
All right.
So as Joe said, we're going to first go over go back over the list of the 10 documents required for due diligence and their cost. So just overall, the cost will be around $30,000 to perform the due diligence. So just to know that going in. For the itemized costs, I'm just going to go over the titles. And again, if you want to know what these documents actually are, listen to 1116, and we went into a lot of detail on that. But first, you've got your financial audit, which costs about $6,000, and that will be from a financial services consultant. Number 2, you've got your internal property condition assessment, or PSA, and this will be performed by a contractor, and that costs about $2,500.
And PCA.
What did I say? PSA?
Yeah.
Yeah, PCA.
Yeah.
Number 3, 4, and 5 are actually going to be done by your property management company or a property management company if you have one, and that's a market survey and condition report, a lease audit, and a unit walkthrough. So this would cost about $4,000 to do. However, if you're going to use the company that's going to perform these reports for your property management company, you should be able to get it for free. So that's a $4,000 savings right there. Number 6 is a site survey, and that'll be about $6,000. Next, you've got your PCA again, and this one's performed by the lender. The first one was actually performed by you internally, and that'll also cost $2,500. You got your environmental site assessment, also performed by the lender, also $2,500. Number 9, your standard appraisal, also performed by the lender, where they hire out a third party, and that'll be $5,000. And number 10 is that green report, and that is also performed by the lender, and that'll be $3,500. So if you add all those together, including that $4,000 for those, numbers 3, 4, and 5, it'll be about $3,200. So generally, it'll be about I think I said $32,000, but generally be around $30,000. So my question for you, Joe, is this something that the syndicator would include in their money raising, or is it something that's independent outside of that, like an out-of-pocket cost from the syndicator?
Yeah, it's factored in the closing costs.
Okay.
And that's part of the money that's raised / you bring that you're investing alongside the investors.
Okay.
It's just a line item on the budget.
Okay.
And you typically don't need to pay out any of these prior to closing. Once you close, then you pay out from the closing proceeds.
Okay. I know I believe this is correct. I know that for so smaller properties, at least for the appraisal, we had to pay that out of pocket, and then we got it credited back at closing.
Okay.
So, yeah, but I guess it's different for.
And do you remember how
apartments.
much your appraisal was on your? Do you have 12, right? 12 units?
It was 12 units. Yeah. I believe, again, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was under $1,000 per building.
Yeah, because 5,000. These are all they're not estimates. It's what we pay, but it can fluctuate based on different variables. And I imagine with the smaller buildings, it would be less. And I remember getting an appraisal when I did my master lease on my first apartment community, and I ordered the appraisal. It was, I want to say, $1,500.
Okay.
And that was on a 150 plus apartment building. And we just quoted here 5,000. So it does fluctuate, and I think it depends on who's ordering it, what's the purpose, how large of a scope is it, what's involved in the appraisal. And so just know that these are estimates, but this does give you a very good ballpark idea for how much you're going to spend. And again, if you want more details on each of these 10, then go listen to episode 1116, and we describe the purpose for each of these 10, so we're not going to do it on this episode.
Exactly. And I believe these numbers are specific for a deal that you guys have.
Oh yeah.
So these might they're based off of that size of a deal. Just wanted to throw that in there.
And those size of deals are around 250 or so units.
Okay, so moving on, we've got 4 listener questions that were submitted. The first one is by John, and he said that he said, I'm in New York, where 20-unit apartments cost $8 million. How do you go about getting it? Do I wait until I have the $3 million saved up for a down payment? Or do I start with single-family residences, or do I do something else?
I don't know what you do. It depends on your goal. I know that's a pretty ambiguous and cryptic answer, but it's a pretty general question, and I'm not sure what you should do. You could choose to buy your own apartment building and save up. If on a $20 million purchase, I suspect you will have to bring more than $3 million. You'll probably have to bring 30%, maybe even 35%. I don't know. Depends on various things. If that's not in your near future and you want to get started sooner, then maybe leverage where you live in New York, where you likely make more money on average than other people who doing your same job in Iowa or in Idaho or even in Texas, and look at property there to bring your money into a market that has more deals that are more favorable for cash flow. I have no clue what your goals are. If your goals are to generate as much cash flow as possible, and you're not as focused on appreciation or forced appreciation, then you would take a different approach than if you are just looking to park some money and beat inflation. So too broad of a question for me to answer, but those are some thought starters.
So the next question from City Park Properties, and he wants to know if Colleen, Joe's wife, is supportive of your aspirations.
Yeah, and I mean she's enjoying the fruits of the aspirations, that's for sure. And we are, as I've mentioned many times, we really are minimalists, not to the extreme scenario, but anytime we buy something, I want to give something away, and I just don't like stuff. As far as some of the quirky things that I do, yeah, she supports it. She, I every morning I have I've talked about this, a liter of water with a scoop of wheatgrass, and now she does it. She's been doing it for the last year and a half or so. I write in my journal every morning the affirmations that we talked about last Friday. And she has purchased a journal, but she hasn't started writing in it yet. But she has
baby steps.
Baby steps. I recently purchased a what you affectionately call a death clock, and I made the mistake of calling it a death clock. And Theo's gonna show you, everyone who's watching via Facebook Live or YouTube, he's gonna show you the death clock. He's just gonna turn the little camera around so you can see the death clock. And basically, for anyone who's listening and not able to see the death clock, it is think of it as if you're at a basketball game and you see a countdown for the shot clock. Think of it like that, but it's more rectangular, and it has days, hours, minutes, and seconds. And the purpose of this death clock is counting down to when I'm 90. And I figure if I live to 90, then Theo just got his seat stolen from Jack while he got up to show the death clock. If I live to 90 years old, then I think I've lived a good long time. And so the purpose of this for me is to show that every second counts. And it's a constant reminder. It's on my wall in my office, reminding me that what I'm doing right now is important because the moment just passed. And I want to make sure I'm spending the time correctly, whether it's with you all on the show, or whether it's with Colleen, or whether it's doing something else. But time is precious and it's fleeting. So that's the purpose. Now, how I have revised it, the approach for Colleen in particular, because she's like, I don't like the death clock. And there's like a green glowing light that comes from the office, and it's near our bedroom. And so it's like constantly reminding us of like green glowing light out from the office. And so we have to like unplug it at night. What I do now is, instead of it being a death clock for her, now it is simply a countdown to my 90th birthday, so we can celebrate my 90th birthday.
There you go.
Yeah. So I sometimes I switch things up a little bit just to, not have her get caught up in my crazy thought process was how I think of certain things. But absolutely, she is in support of my aspirations, and she is incredible. Not everything is roses and rainbows and unicorns. And during those times, she's been incredibly supportive, and I'm incredibly grateful that I met the love of my life, and I'll be with her forever.
Awesome. No, I enjoy the concept of the death clock, or the 90th birthday clock. The next question, also by City Park Properties. He wants to know, what is the average...
He or she?
Every time, he or she. I'm probably going to make the same mistake again, so I apologize ahead of time, and Joe will correct me. City Park Properties, he or she asked, what is the average length of time Ashcroft keeps a property?
5 years.
Joe mentioned one of the metrics for a deal is the 18% IRR on a 5-year sale. Are they often selling at the 5-year mark.
I mean, ultimately what we do is we do our projections based on 5 years, but we also use common sense and business sense once we purchase, and whatever makes the most sense based on capital preservation first and foremost, and then meeting the goals we have for the investors and then exceeding them. So in that order, those are 3 orders of priority. Capital preservation, number 1. Number 2 is meeting goals. Number 3 is exceeding goals. So we might sell early, we might sell later. We have the flexibility. That's the important thing with the debt that we're putting on these properties, to hold on to it should a market correction take place. And we need to hold on to it longer than 5 years. So that's our approach.
Okay. Last listener question, also by City Park Properties. He or she said, or asked, for limited partners, is it 70% of anticipated return of 8% versus 30% for the general partners? And this, the little context, this is in response to you saying that you offer an 8% preferred return, and anything above that is a 70-30 split.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so maybe he's asking, is it 70% of the 8%, or is it above it? Is it after 8%?
Okay. Yeah, I don't quite understand the question either. Right? You don't quite understand it. Okay.
So I'm gonna take it. Maybe he's asking, is it 70%
it's just
of
the first 8% of cash flow that the property has. And that's 8% of the total equity that is brought by the group of investors. So let's just say, let's do simple math. If it's $1 million worth of equity that was brought to the deal, then 8% of that is $80,000. So the first $80,000 of profit goes to investors because that's their 8% return. And then typically, and this depends on the deal, but typically if it's a 70-30 deal, then 70% of anything above that, so let's say it's $90,000 total profit for the year, $1 million was the equity that was brought, $90,000 total, then 80,000 of the 90 goes to investors, and then the remaining 10,000, 70% of that, so $7,000 goes towards the investors, and 30,000 or 3,000 goes to the general partnership.
Okay, and the next part of his question might clarify a little bit, because he wants to know what's the initial investment required to be considered a limited partner. And so I guess he's maybe asking, so if I invest in your deal, no matter how much money I invest, am I considered a limited partner? Or
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no tiers of, if you invest $50,000, you're more. You aren't on the LP side, limited partnership side, versus if you invest $1.5 million. Now you will have less ownership shares of the deal, but I mean that's just on a return standpoint. There's really no other benefit, but I mean the return standpoint is a huge benefit. Mm-hmm. So,
all right, so that concludes our listener questions. Let's move into some updates and observations for the week. So, Joe, do you got any updates on your business from this past week?
Yeah, let's see. I'm going to the Memphis Invest Conference. I'm speaking there this Saturday, which will be October the 6th, I believe. Right? 7th. Okay. This Saturday, I'll be in Dallas at the Memphis Invest Conference, speaking at 9 a.m. It's free. It's a no sales thing, which is really the only type of conference I want to speak at. It's just purely, hey, this is some good info. Chris Clothier puts it on, and his group. The owner of the Atlanta Hawks will also be there speaking. So if you're in Dallas this Saturday, then go to Memphis Invest website and look up the details for how to get a ticket and to attend. It's actually, the conference is Friday and Saturday, but Friday I will be with Frank, my business partner, and our largest investor, touring some of our properties that we have with him. So I won't be attending the conference Friday. However, I probably go to dinner with everyone Friday night, and then Saturday I'll be doing that keynote. So check that out. Looking forward to seeing you there. Let me know if come up to me on Saturday after the keynote if you attend and you are a listener. A couple other things. I've been following the Amazon relocate, or their Amazon headquarters that they're going to be awarding to a city in the U.S. It's going to be their second headquarters, $5 billion investment and 50,000 jobs is what they're projecting to the city that's awarded it. And I've had some questions. I had one question from an investor. Well, should I wait until a city's awarded it and then try and buy some real estate around there? And my thought process is, how lucky are you? You know, do you go to the casino a lot? And if so, do you win at the roulette table? Because basically what they're asking, because once the city is awarded the deal, 90% of the real estate investors in that market are going to be aware of it, and now your prices are going to get increased. So you might as well not wait on that. I would say if you find a good deal now, just invest in a good deal or buy a good deal. As far as the cities go that are going to be in top contention, and as far as the city that is my pick for winning it, I want to make a prediction. And Amazon is not going to award it until next year, 2018. So we got some time. But I'm going to go ahead and say my top 4 cities. And in fact, I'm going to say my top 4 cities, and then later, I need a little bit more time. I'm going to pick the city I suspect will get it. So my top 4 cities that Amazon will that will be one of the 4 that are selected will be Denver, Dallas, Chicago, and Atlanta. Those are the 4 cities based on what I'm seeing Amazon looking for and what is currently available and just what makes sense based on what I think. I think those 4 cities, one of those 4 will be awarded the headquarters. So Dallas, Denver, Chicago, and Atlanta. And on a future episode, but prior to 2018, I will give you my selection for who I think Amazon will pick. Ultimately, it's like, the roulette table. Who knows? But based on some things I'm reading, those are my 4 cities, and it's a huge economic impact.
Yeah. I used to work for a logistics company, and I would run these models to figure out where we'd put these distribution centers. And I know that the Amazon headquarters might not be an actual distribution center, but they calculate like how the distance from this city to other major cities based off of what items those people purchase, and all 4 of those places are like top distribution hubs. So it'd be when you said it, my first answer was Atlanta. Just because I know that the company I worked for, that was their top choice for like not a headquarters, but a distribution main hub. So if I had to guess, I'm putting my idea in Atlanta.
You're picking
early.
You're picking early.
With no information at all.
No information at all. All right, cool. Atlanta.
Because I do well at the casino. So
you are good at blackjack. You've told me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Atlanta is Theo's pick. And I'll announce mine sometime before 2018.
Anything else?
Oh, lastly, we did an interesting analysis across all of our portfolio, looking at our projected rents versus our projected premiums that we're going to get on our renovated units versus what we're actually getting. And we are getting on average 9.1% more on our renovated units across our entire portfolio than what we projected in our pro forma. It's a wonderful thing to see. And the range goes from 3.5%, and that's on a property that we recently purchased. So I think there needs to be a little bit more of a data to help us see how that is going to do, but still we're hitting our projections on the renovations and we're going above 3.5%. So it's still a great thing. And then all the way up to, I wrote down 16.2%.
Wow.
On a property, and then anywhere in between for the other 9 properties. So I think it's a product of a couple things. I mean, one, let's be honest, it's a great market right now, and it's a great time to own apartments, but then also we're in Dallas, Fort Worth, and two in Houston, and this factors in Houston too, but primarily Dallas, Fort Worth, and it's a great market to be in right now, and I think in the foreseeable future. So one is just we picked the right market at the right time, but also we're just lucky, right? Because we are living in this time in life, and that's just how things are. Then two, it goes back to conservative projections and wanting to understate what you think you'll do and then exceed expectations. And then three, having a management partner that can execute the business plan, because we all can be spreadsheet millionaires, but are we really millionaires whenever we actually go and implement the business plan? And that's where the on-the-ground team and staying close to them and doing the asset management comes into play.
Well, congratulations on those projections.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yep. What about you? What's going on?
There's really not much. I know last week I was talking about my boiler issues on my 3 4-unit properties, and I got a quote back for how much that's going to cost. It was actually a lot less than I expected. I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's a lot less than I expected. I was expecting $10,000, and it ended up being $3,400. And that is replacing a couple of the radiators, replacing all these valves that they use to bleed all the radiators. You had to bleed all the radiators, and then just some maintenance on the actual boiler itself. I was very surprised at how much it cost to fix those radiators. But I'm probably going to, because I'm not scheduled to have it done for a couple weeks out, and so I'm going to have at least one other person come in and look at it, and just to give me another price, just to make sure that this guy's not tipping me off, because I have no idea how much it costs to fix these things. And so that's just for one of the buildings, and at the same time, I'm just going to just knock out the other buildings' boilers and radiators too. So I'll have them go to each of those units, pull off the radiator tops, and look in there and make sure that the whatever those valves things are, the sticks. There's one that I wish this way I could show a picture, but it literally looked like something I said it last time off the Titanic. Like, it was so rusted or corroded. It's just amazing that that's just like sitting next to someone's head when they're sleeping, and that the previous owner just didn't address that, and the inspector that was looking at it missed it, because you can see the rust on the ground. That was frustrating, but again, it just is what it is, and now I know moving forward what to look for. And my hope is that overall, to get all 3 boilers up and running is less than my initial $10,000 mark. And then right now we actually have enough money to buy another fourplex or another property around the $200,000 range, but we're going to wait until we get this issue figured out first, just because we might open up, we might go to the second building and they need a brand new boiler, which is like $15,000 or $10,000, and so we're just going to just kind of wait until we get this figured out, and then in the winter find another fourplex to buy. How I'm going to find it? It was funny. I didn't hear this anywhere, but I was driving around and kind of looking at buildings, kind of driving for dollars. I thought to myself, I wonder if properties that don't have newer windows, like have those really old, like swinging open windows, the manually ones, I wonder if those people that own those are more willing to sell than someone who put brand new windows on there, because someone that put brand new windows on there, so their windows are so expensive. Like the return isn't for a couple of years, and so obviously they are thinking a lot more longer term than someone who maybe has not thinking long term. It's like, oh, maybe I'll plan on selling this building in the near future, so there's no point to put new windows on there. And so I'm going to drive around to fourplexes and find ones that have older windows and just mail to them and just see what happens. No. And also a combination of other distressed.
I was going to say that I think that's a microcosm of some other larger things you could look at too.
Because most of the properties that I've seen, again, I haven't written anything down, but just by looking, if they have newer windows, they also have really nice landscaping. They got paint. They've got their lawns cut. But then the ones that have the older windows, the paint's chipping off the windows. The bushes are overgrown, and just kind of the look of it isn't nice, and it's a little distressed.
You're driving around this weekend. When are you doing that?
I might actually do it this. I'm probably gonna do it on Saturday because Marcella is out of town again, so I've got nothing else to do.
When you drive around, do you have a notepad and make note of the address and something distinctive about it so that you can personalize the note to the owner?
Yep. So the plan is to go, and this is, I think I might have gotten this from you from one of the blog posts you wrote, and it's So I take a picture of it, just so I remember what the property is.
Yep.
And then I, find something distinctive about it, like the windows are old, or the garbage cans are out, or whatever it is, lights out, whatever it is, and then you kind of use that as an introductory during the letter, so it's not just some generic letter. It's more personalized and
without offending them.
Without offending them, yes.
Right.
And my friend has had a lot of success with mailers in the area that I invest in, the neighborhood that I'm going to invest in. He's gotten a lot of responses. Just he obviously can't buy all of them, but he's gotten a lot of interest in wanting to have further conversations about the properties. Which he's I have those names as well, so I'll mail to them.
And what is he doing that is successful?
I think he's just sending out generic mailers.
Okay.
Like the same mailer.
Special. Okay.
So hopefully the added specialness will help me get a response.
Okay.
So those are updates I have. Starting last week, we started doing we started answering the best ever community question of the week, and we're gonna do that again this week. And this week the question was, you've just been given $1 million. What's the first thing that you do?
I buy $1 million lottery tickets.
You buy $1 million lottery tickets? I like it.
What would you do? I don't know.
So I was thinking about this, and again, I didn't get a spreadsheet out and go too psycho about this, but what I would do is at first take half, take the $500,000, and invest it in a overall $2 million apartment project. Preferably a value-add deal, so maybe find a $1.25 million property.
50% down?
No. I use $500,000 for 25% down.
Okay.
An overall $2 million project.
All right.
And then, so that's half. And then the next $500,000, part of it will be used to, number one, I'd probably pay off my parents' home because I think I owe them for them creating me and raising me. And then my brother lives in this group home for people that have disabilities, and my parents actually own the property, but they don't own it outright. And so I'd pay that off, so my brother would always have a house to live in for the rest of his life.
You mean they have a loan on it? A mortgage?
Basically.
Basically, yeah. Okay, got it.
And then whatever was remaining, I'd probably invest it in one of your deals. Mm-hmm. So how much? It'd probably be $200,000, $300,000 left over.
And then with the profits you make from my deals, you would then pay the taxes that you didn't allocate for originally.
Yeah, seriously. I'm assuming this is tax-free money somehow.
Oh, okay. All right, got it. $1 million post whatever you paid. Post taxes. Okay. I don't have anything sexy. I would put it in my bank until we come across another deal, and then I would just plunk it, majority of it down in that new deal. And that's what I would do.
Would you buy a bigger death clock?
I'd buy
$1 million decked out death clock.
That's right. I get some sequins on there, and maybe a bell for every hour that passes by.
There you go. That's good. All right, so just some miscellaneous items. Be sure to check out besteverconference.com and get your ticket. We still are offering the early bird rate, which is $100 off until Halloween. So that's besteverconference.com, second annual conference. And then finally, we're doing something new. We used to do the review of the week, but now we're going to do shout-outs. And so this week, the best ever shout-out goes to Justin. And he says, I'm looking for my first syndication deal, a $2 to $4 million 50-plus unit property on the East Coast, anywhere between New York and South Carolina. I'd prefer if the property is poorly managed with opportunity to improve the value via renovations, reduce expenses, and increase rents. I have investors ready and an experienced investor on my team to guide me through the details. I just need a great property to put it all together. And so if you know of a property or where to find a property, you can find and message Justin at his Facebook group, which is Liberty Property Investing. Moving forward, if you want to be the best ever shout out of the week, go to our best ever community on Facebook and create a comment saying shout out and then what you want your shout out to be.
Cool. And then we'll randomly select Grant, who does our social media, randomly selects one that we get either from that group, or some people even email us, and he'll randomly select one. And then if yours is selected, then you'll be included here. And then we might mix it up. We might still do a review of the week every now and then too. We'll just see how things go. Cool. Well, thanks everyone. I hope I see some of you in Dallas at the conference on the 7th. And if not, we will talk to you tomorrow via the next episode.